Today we're going to talk about why you should develop to ship. Coming up. Hey guys, Travis Vroman here with another indie game dev tip. Tip number 6, develop to ship. What that means is when you are developing a game, you want to develop with the intent that you're going to ship the product when you're done with it. And maintaining this mindset is really super important because it's going to serve you further down the road when you need motivation as to continue on with the project. Every feature that you add to the game, every asset that you develop for the game beyond the prototyping phase, you want to treat as if it is going to go out the door that way. And the reason that you want to do that is because you don't want to necessarily put in crap assets to begin with, which will need to be replaced later on, and you'll wind up essentially doing double the work. But the other thing is when you're writing the code, you want to make sure that it's always neat and organized and clean, so that if you had to ship the game before it was ready, which is almost always the case, you're going to be able to do that. And one thing that I typically do is when I write my code, I write my code clean, and that doesn't mean that I go back and or it doesn't mean that I don't have to go back rather, and refactor and change things around and change how things work. That of course happens. It always happens. But the idea is to make it in such a way where if you had to ship it, you could. Not in such a way where if you had to ship it, it's like, oh crap, I need to redo these 4 things before I can ship it. So the thing about developing games is your product is never really going to be done. And I'm going to talk about this at length in another video. But you always have to develop it in mind where if you had to ship the game tomorrow, you should be able to ship it. And that may be with missing features. That may be with, with the current assets that are in the game. So when you're making the assets or writing the code, take your time to ensure that it's high quality assets and code that you're pushing in. And maybe it won't be completely polished, but if you had to release the game, it should be close to good enough to release with. And that doesn't mean shoot for perfection, because perfection doesn't really exist, and we're going to talk about that in another video. But what it really means is always bear in the back of your mind that, hey, this product is going to go out the door, so you don't want to include anything in the game that you don't necessarily want to be released with the game. So one thing that I've seen in a lot of products that I've dealt with over the years, either for companies or individuals that I've consulted with, or mostly in web applications is where I've done this kind of stuff, or seen this kind of thing. Sometimes people will put in like curse words into their code or their comments or things like that and forget to take them out and then release it that way. And anybody that goes into the web page can view the source and see that stuff. And that's, of course, just one example of something that you wouldn't want included in a released product. But, this can be also extended to assets that are super low quality that you just slam something in there real quick just to test something and get it to work. That's all well and good at the prototyping stage, but once you're past the prototyping stage, you really should put the full effort into making those assets as close as possible to the released version of them, so that there's not something glaring that winds up in your final game. So another major component of this is if you never ship anything, nobody's going to know about you. nobody's going to know about your games, or nobody's going to know what you've developed, or nobody's going to know what you've done. If you look throughout history, a lot of the famous artists and stuff that are out there, a lot of those guys, they put out hundreds of paintings or drawings or sculptures or any of those things. And the only reason that people know who they are or what they've done is because they released it to the public. And the same goes for software development. So, if you're just making sort of tech demos and stuff, or cool little things to show your buddies or whatnot, that's cool, but it's not really going to help you establish yourself as a game developer. It's not really going to. Nobody's going to know who you are. Nobody's going to know all the cool stuff that you've developed. Because they don't see it because you never released it. So the only way that your stuff is ever going to be cared about by anybody is if you actually release it. You complete the project and you send it out to the public and you release it. If take for example, let's say Leonardo da Vinci, right? If he had kept all his paintings to himself and never put them out or sold any of them, or if he had maybe not even kept them himself, or maybe he destroyed all of his paintings, we would never have known who he was. We would have never known all the cool things that he did. We would have never seen all the beautiful works of art that he did. But because of the fact that he sold some of his paintings and he, a lot of his work got released to the public and was able to be seen and experienced by people and written about throughout history. It's one of the reasons he's one of the most well-known artists in history, is because he actually released his work. He didn't just keep his work to himself, in a private setting, or he didn't just build a whole bunch of stuff or paint a whole bunch of stuff, draw a whole bunch of stuff, whatever, and then either destroy it or keep it locked away somewhere in a closet. He released it to the public. So as a game developer, not even just as a game developer, as a software developer, you have to put your stuff out there in order for it to be seen and known about and consumed by the public. Otherwise, nobody's going to know about it. Nobody's going to care. And truth be told, the first few things that you put out there anyways, probably nobody's going to care about. But, as you progress in your career, people may want to look back on those things to see the progression of your career, and they might wind up carrying on, later on down the road. So, if you put stuff out and nobody cares right away, it's normal. But if you keep consistently shipping, you will eventually develop a name for yourself. So anyway, that's all I really wanted to talk about as far as that topic goes. So please hit the like button and subscribe, and thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.